Trish and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Voices whisper ancient secrets, signs and symbols are abundant. UFOs, ETs, ghosts, and even the dead move about freely. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
We'll try again in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Rob McGregor and
Trish McGregor.
And our tech magician producer, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among our books are The Shift, Reports from the Mystical Underground, Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, Aliens in the Backyard, and The 7 Secrets of Synchronicity, among many others. Trish's latest novel is White Crows, and Rob's latest book is called Breathe, A Master Diver's Survival Tales, co-authored by Rick Bedoya.
Our guest today is Adrian Duncan, an astrologer and author who lives in Bornholm. Did I pronounce that right, Adrian?
Yeah, actually, it was perfect.
Okay. Which is called the Pearl of the Baltic Sea. It's in a small fishing village called Gujam, I hope that's right, which means God home. I looked it up, and there's only 800 people living there, less than 800.
Oh, gosh, it seems crowded to me. I tell you, it gets crowded in the summer. There's lots of tourists, because it's got to be the most beautiful spot in Denmark.
Huh. Okay. Well, anyway, he's also the former editor of the Astrological Journal and is author of Doing Time on Planet Earth and Astrology, Transformation and Empowerment. His work can be found at astrowow.com, which features articles, videos, astrology reports, and astrology software. Adrian was our guest in the fall of 2020. And you're back. Welcome, Adrian.
Welcome back, Adrian.
Well, thanks for having me. Gosh.
Sorry about the screw up.
Adrian, how long have you lived at this little fishing village?
Actually, 4 years, and before that, I was a little bit of a digital kind of nomad. I was in Nepal and Malta and India for 3 years,
Wow.
So, I mean, I can actually be anywhere, but my wife's a psychologist and Danish, so we settled here, and she's kind of busy here. That's great.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah. And are you originally British? You are British?
Yeah, Welsh. I guess I might distinguish myself.
Welsh, okay. All right. From Wales?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Great.
So if your wife is a psychologist, I'm curious, why does she have so much business on an island of less than 800 people?
Oh, well, the island's not. Guyam maybe has 800 people,
okay.
But the island's got about 30,000 people.
Oh, all right.
And half of them are a little bit messed up, right? So she's really busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Okay. How do you view the planet Pluto, since it's going to be entering Aquarius next year?
Well, I had an interesting experience when I was 21 and in India. I was in Delhi at the time. I was on a hippie trail. And I actually kind of had this kind of experience of Pluto. Like a really, really
intense.
Really, I don't know what to describe it. It was I don't know. Anyway, I saw Pluto and what it did. And I think it's, there's a sort of humor in Pluto, it's a kind of dark humor. So it's always a little humorous, it's a bit like if you look at a skeleton, it's kind of grinning, right? And I think that's the thing with Pluto, it brings you into crisis mode, which is often quite a healthy process, and then you kind of change, you drop what is dead, and you kind of get reborn, or you kind of, you keep hold of the key element that you need to survive and grow. So I'm kind of it's kind of be painful to experience Pluto, but it's often very rewarding afterwards, I think.
I asked because for years I kept asking myself, okay, what's going to happen when Pluto hits my 29-degree Capricorn moon? And I found out on the day that happened, I had to have our dog put down, and then my sister died. And I always thought it was going to be my death, but apparently not.
No, I don't think it would be, you see, because you've got to go through a transformation. Well,
right.
I mean, death is, you're gone, right? But you needed to go through something, I think, I guess. Well, but it's tough. It hasn't finished either, has it? So
no.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for it to go into Aquarius because I'm really curious to see. Well, I mean, how do you see that? What's the effect going to be?
Well, nobody knows, because you can kind of look at it historically, and like as Pluto's just returned to the position it was at the Declaration of Independence in America, right. Which is 27 degrees Capricorn. It's just this year it just went a little kind of went into Aquarius, then it went back into it went retrograde into Capricorn. And if you look at the same period, like 247 years ago, that was obviously the American Declaration of Independence, but the colonists were at war with Britain, so it took them years to throw out the British. And so the actual victory, I think, at Yorktown, which kind of got rid of the British in the end, Pluto was in Aquarius. So it's kind of that was obviously, and then you had the French Revolution not so long afterwards, so that obviously it's a people, it's the people rising up against autocracy. I think, that's like politically what it was then. This time, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of the same of that. I don't know how oligarchs and billionaires are going to survive this, because when it was the French Revolution, anybody who had money was really in trouble. They were getting guillotined and executed. So they had to get rid of their riches to survive. So it might have some effect on the inequality between the 1%, right? It might have some effect there, but mostly it's going to be in the scientific realm, I think. What happens?
But it seems like if there's a revolution going on now, it's more on an autocratic type revolution, like just in Argentina turned to a right-wing government, and Hungary and more and more countries are. So how does that fit in?
Think. Yeah, I understand what you mean. You think, okay, does that mean it's still going to be autocratic? I mean, it's a process. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for 20 years,
Right.
So, I mean, it's in Capricorn right now, so it might be the last gasp of autocrats, I think it's more like that, really.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't want anybody to be guillotined.
It might be good, but it might, it was not. Pluto has this kind of quality where it's like inhuman, it's not human friendly. It just wants to make transformation. So in Aquarius, it mobilizes the people. And when you mobilize the people, it can get pretty dangerous, so
we'll see.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I think that'll be all right, basically.
Yeah, Adrian, for non-astrologers, when Pluto is mentioned, people often think, well, Pluto's not a planet anymore since 2006. How has this affected astrology? People want to know.
I have a very interesting story about that, actually.
Oh, good. Let's hear it.
Because Pluto was happily being a planet, and there was this conference in Vienna, in Austria, and they decided, one day that it was going to be a dwarf planet, But the interesting thing was, Austria is a bit of a weird country. The interesting thing was there was a woman called Natasha Kampusch, who at 10 years old was abducted by this guy called Pricklepitch, and she was kept in the cellar from the age of 10 to the age of 16.
My God.
This is a Pluto story. This is a Pluto story because the myth of Pluto is that he came up and abducted Persephone, which was like Venus, and took her into the underworld. And Persephone's mother, Ceres or Demeter, she made the world infertile until the gods agreed to allow her daughter to come back. But anyway, so at the very day that they made Pluto into a dwarf planet, Natasha Kampusch escaped from Pluto or Pricklepitch here. She escaped, and he, the abductor, he immediately committed suicide. So Pluto died there, right? And the funny thing was, that Natasha escaped exactly when Ceres, it's like the mother, came to the original position when she was born.
Wow.
So it was a total story where it played out. The demotion of Pluto played out in this little drama, which took place in Austria, just close to the actual conference.
Where is she now?
So,
is she still alive?
You can actually. There's a Netflix. I think it's Netflix, or there's a kind of series about her. She kind of survived.
She'd be in her 20s now, I would guess.
Yeah, and she's quite a tough cookie. She said something like, it started off he thought he could dominate me, but I ended up dominating him, and that was like before she escaped at 16. And she was in the cellar. It was awful.
Boy, that's quite a Plutonian story.
Fantastic
and it
story, right?
Happened on the same day that they demoted Pluto. That's incredible. What
and
a synchronicity. Yeah. God.
So, but it doesn't make any difference. Like, it never made any difference to the influence of Pluto in astrology. It hasn't. Not as far as I know, at least. It's an incredibly small planet with this incredible. Because it's small, it's like it always relates to a little thing, which has an enormous power, just like an atomic bomb has. It's that kind of power that's in Pluto. It's all concentrated.
I always think that if you're an astrologer and you dismiss Pluto, you do so at your own peril.
Yeah, it's very predictable what the kind of effects it has, really.
But astrology must have changed when they discovered Pluto, because Pluto wasn't included among the planets until I'm not sure what day.
I think it was 1930.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's true. As soon as a planet's discovered, it's like the world. How does the world exist? It exists inside us and outside us. So when you explore the solar system, there's a kind of equivalent expansion of the mind. So there's immediately a reflection of, a discovery of a planet in the evolution of the Earth. It's easily traceable with Uranus and Neptune. And with Pluto, it was this kind of crash, the crisis, economic crisis, and the splitting of the atom and stuff like that happened, and the beginning of this, Nazi kind of, which is like a bad expression, but the kind of well, there's a lot of bad things that happened during the 30s, but that was mostly because Pluto was square Uranus. It was like Pluto and Uranus were clashing.
Each one wanted to be the boss.
Pluto's always the boss.
I know he is.
But Uranus and Pluto is a kind of pair that is like an alien. It's exactly like an alien. So if you've ever seen the movie Alien, the alien is like a Uranus-Pluto thing.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. Well, what impact will this transit have for the U.S. presidential election in 2024? That's the big question.
Yeah. Actually, I've just written an article about that, which has come up on my website. Yeah.
Okay, great.
This is the really weird thing about the next election. because at the election Pluto's in Capricorn, but at the inauguration Pluto's in Aquarius.
Oh,
and
wow.
the inauguration always takes place as the sun enters Aquarius, on the 20th of January. So the sun's right on Pluto. So it's the first American inauguration where there's been a Sun-Pluto conjunction. There's never been one, I don't think, before. So I don't know what it means.
That's a little alarming.
Yeah, it could. It looks autocratic, but it doesn't have to be. I often think, like Pluto was opposite the sun when Obama was president.
Right.
Opposite America's sun. And I think it's kind of often black, or sort of ethnically, diverse. That's politically correct to say. So I have some theories about what that could mean, actually. So I'm sure we'll go there in a minute.
Okay, what are your theories? Let's hear them.
Well, okay. First of all, I don't think Trump can win the election. It went in 2016. Actually, he had some wonderful progressions, which were kind of obvious. Really, he'd win. I didn't think he'd win because I just didn't want him to win. But it was a clear winner combination. He doesn't have that at all in 2024. In fact, he's got a little bit the opposite. There's some trends in his horoscope which are darker, and there's been a change taking place since all these court cases started.
Right.
And I just obviously MAGA Republicans are going to vote for him, but I think that because as a result of all the court cases and that, there'll be some alienation, and there only needs to be a little bit of alienation amongst independent voters. So I don't think that he'll win. I'm not even sure if he's going to be the candidate.
Oh, really?
I think he'll be the candidate. I think it's a 70%, 80% chance he'll be a candidate.
What about Biden? You think he'll be a candidate?
Yeah, I guess he'll be a candidate. I mean, obviously, that's the trouble, because Biden's only got to make a sort of have a senior moment, like what's the name of the guy who just had a senior moment in the Senate? What's his name? Mitch McConnell.
Oh, Mitch McConnell, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's only got to do one of them, right? And there's going to be a problem for Biden. But I think most people are just going to think, okay, well, forget about the fact that he's going to be 82 or 80. I think, I think unless something happens, and I don't think anything's going to happen straight away, I think he'll be candidate. Yeah.
Well, whichever one of them is elected, if it's one of those two, he'll be the oldest president ever to take office. Whether it's Trump or Biden.
Right.
Yeah, either one.
And there are some quite strong indications that after a year or two, if he wins the presidency, something's going to happen. There's so many, there's really quite a lot of indications, and those indications are, if you look at America's horoscope, the midheaven progressed after 250 years. It comes on Uranus. That's like a surprise. If you look at Biden's horoscope, his Uranus transits hits his descendant, which is like, and then there's some other thing. I think maybe his sun goes square Uranus. Anyway, that's like an unpredictable event that could take place 2 years into the presidency. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but so there's a good chance maybe the Sun Pluto in the inauguration horoscope, which is this kind of weird influence, maybe it shows that the president, gets replaced by a vice president. And then you'd have Kamala Harris, then you'd have a black
female.
It's a long shot. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't done Biden's chart yet. I got so disgusted trying to look at Trump's chart over the years, and I was always wrong about what was going on. I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm going to ask Adrian.
Yeah, but the thing is, his chart's not that bad. It's just psychologically disturbed, and I suppose that you see that with the with the he's born an eclipse moon on Uranus,
Right.
which makes him a little bit crazy,
Uh-huh.
and also incredibly divisive. So I think that's, and then he's a narcissist. He's just psychologically disturbed. So it's difficult to predict what narcissists do, I think.
Yeah. But back on August 25th, 2020, you wrote in an article that on election day of 2020, Mars will be was in Aries, which would be stationary and doesn't want to go anywhere. And this, you said the same with Trump, and he will not want to leave office. Well, that certainly turned out to be true. But you also said that he would be shunned, that he would be shunned by the world, but that has not been the case. He has in some ways he has a larger following than ever. The more times he's indicted, the more people seem to like him.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. There's also been recent polls that sort of have him running neck and neck with Biden.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I suppose he's never been popular outside of America. Nobody in Europe understands Trump. You probably got about 2% of people in Europe who think he's any good. But he has lost. He's really lost respect. I think amongst people who don't. He's anybody who thought he was all right. I think the criminal cases have exposed a lot. But we'll see. I think it's enough to mean he cannot win, and I think the Republican Party should actually not have him as a candidate. Even I'm not sure if they can at the Congress, if they can change anything, because Nikki Haley's got a much better chance of winning.
I think so too. How do you look for? How is Pluto going to affect the Republican Party as a whole? Because they seem to be moving more and more towards autocracy and,
Yeah, but that's all to do with Trump. When Trump was elected, in 2016, if you have the horoscope for the Republican Party, what happened was that Uranus, I think, it was the second return. It's got an 84-year cycle. And Neptune, it's a first return. So when Trump got elected, both Uranus and Neptune were back in the same position they were at the Republican formation of the Republican Party. Yeah, and I think Neptune is like dissolution, and Uranus is like splitting and unpredictability. So I think that's a phenomenon that Trump precipitated for the Republican Party. And I also think that the Republican Party is going to suffer, not just now, but also right until the end of this decade, because there's at the next election, there's a really strong Neptunian influence on the Republican Party, which kind of suggests dissolution of it. Or confusion and dissolution, So I think even there, I think that the Republicans, the indications are they'll lose. It's not 100%, but
that Neptunian influence is tricky.
Yeah, so what about it's confusion? I think chaos.
Yeah. What about the rest of us? What will the impact this transit have on individuals?
Yes. Well, I think I think the thing about Pluto when it comes into Aquarius, it's an air sign. It lands right, back in 2020, there was a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius at 0 degrees. First one in 800 years, and a whole new epoch, 200-year epoch begins with Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions in air signs, which is a new era, like an Aquarian era. And Pluto lands on that point now at the next election, and it kind of turbocharges the transformations that are happening in society. And the main thing, I think, or the obvious thing, is artificial intelligence. Pluto is artificial. Aquarius is the brain, so it's like brain implants. It's all this Musk stuff, Elon Musk stuff. it's intergalactic travel, interplanetary travel. I tell you, there will be people landing on Mars within about 12, 13, 14, 15 years. So it's going to be like massive. And when Pluto comes into Aquarius, Uranus comes into Gemini about a year later. And that's like a Uranus-Pluto trine. It's a harmonious thing between two aliens, which lasts. It repeats about 7 times. It's going to last until 2028. Wow. Yeah, so it's like an enormous boost, of electrification of the infrastructure. That's Uranus in Gemini, like trine Pluto, right? So nobody's going to be buying anything other than an electric car by the end of that. Right. So it's all, and then when it's electric cars, what does that mean? It means complete change of the electric grid and power systems and batteries and kind of a Skype-like sharing of electricity from a car battery worldwide. It's just going to be another world, and there's not going to be any burning, of fossil fuels. By the end of the 20 years. So there's no burning, basically, apart from wildfires, I guess.
Could this be the period where we discover that aliens are among us? All these congressional hearings they've been doing. As you know, it could be, of course, it could, yeah, definitely. But the whole idea is like, it's crazy that nobody's ever thought about. It's obvious that there are inhabited planets. The chances of there not being inhabited planets in the universe is like zero. Yeah, ridiculous.
Because we cannot be the only planet in a endless space. So yeah, there's obviously aliens. Maybe there'll be some contact. That's going to really change things.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But not just that, but basically, there are already that. You see, aliens that have managed to get to Earth are much more advanced than we are, and they're also probably compassionate creatures, and so they would easily be here and helping us along. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, because if they're going to destroy us, they would do it. They could have done it long ago. If they... Yeah,
indeed. They could have done it when
they do.
We had sort of what sort of cannon and stuff. Of course. It's not like, if you look at the immense time scale of the universe, of course, the Earth and humans could come and go in a little sort of second of the universe's time. But there still would be aliens, or I don't know what to call them, inhabitants of other planets.
Yeah.
Well, do you think this will be an overt, hi, we're here, that kind of thing? Or
I think
more
those
subtle?
Aliens, compassionate aliens that are on Earth, would never do that. But because it would mess us up.
It might not be that they're just arriving either. Like we might be a little project of theirs in this part of the universe, and they're just checking on us.
Yeah, the kind of project which would be the kind of evolution of human, humanity. I think and obviously the best side of human beings.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if all these technological advances will have anything to do with alien input. I guess that's...
Well, you don't know that they are already.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what about this transit's effect on the conflict in Israel and Gaza?
Well, I don't think that can be directly associated with Pluto in Aquarius. It might be, I'm not sure, but what we're seeing right now, there's been a kind of Sun and Mars entered Scorpio about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there's a Sun-Mars conjunction, which is a pretty brutal combination. And Scorpio is a lot connected with underground or tunnels and stuff. It's all this kind of tunnel warfare, and that it's a bit related to Sun Mars. I think that it's Uranus that's going to make the big change for Israel, because Uranus is going to pass over Israel's sun. The horoscope for Israel is pretty accurate, and Uranus coming is nearly on the sun, and it's going to come back over the sun. So I think there's going to be a destabilizing period, and Netanyahu is also going to be ejected next year. But I wouldn't. Don't ask me to find a solution to the Palestinian problem.
Right.
I just don't know it.
What about Ukraine?
I think it's meant to be
Russia?
like that. Yeah. Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be incredible because Russia is very sensitive to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction cycle, which is the 36-year cycle. It's the revolution in 1917, Stalin's death, Perestroika and Gorbachev. And the next one is in 2025. So I don't think Putin will survive that. And so the other thing is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction takes place in Aries, and that's that's like right at the beginning of Aries. It's like a bit violent, I think. So yeah, I'm quite concerned that that you don't really want Russia to disintegrate, right? Because it's dangerous. But I think because they're going to have so many internal problems at that time, they will not have the stomach for fighting in Ukraine. So I think Ukraine will recapture or regain most of its territory and enter the EU by the end of this decade. I'm pretty sure of that.
So this thing with Netanyahu, you see him being ejected because of this conjunction of what was
I'm guessing because the sun is like the president, right? It's the top guy, and Uranus on the sun is like revolution, right? So I mean, it's going to be disruptive for Israel for sure, but I don't suppose Netanyahu will survive that.
Yeah. The FBI has said that the greatest threat of terrorism in the United States is domestic terrorism for the last few years. And do you see that something as this transit is going to cause
I
to
see
continue?
What you mean, right? Yeah, because of course, if you're looking at the Republicans, well, gun ownership in America is phenomenal. I think there's 5 guns for every American.
Yeah, that's insane.
But Republicans own twice as many guns as Democrats. Sorry to worry you and all that. Yeah. And the polls of Republicans have kind of shown that did they feel it? Would it be their duty to turn to arms if they felt something undemocratic was happening in America, right? And 30% thought yeah, or something like that. Yeah, and the Republican Party was formed just prior to the American Civil War, and they were actually anti-slavery, right? They were
right. Lincoln was a Republican, first Republican president.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, Uranus is going to return to its original birth position, where it was the first time there was the Civil War, and it's going to be there about 2028. I mean, so I'm not saying there's going to be. I think there'll be civil unrest. So some domestic terrorism, I think, is on the agenda.
We may be moving to your island.
Well,
where it's peaceful.
We can do with more people here. There's plenty of space.
I wrote him and I said, I wrote Adrian an email. I said, is it time to move yet?
Right. I mean, I don't know. You guys have got to, somebody has to sort of be a voice of sanity.
Yeah. So what do you... Go ahead, Trish.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask another UFO question.
Yeah. Oh, so bigger question, Adrian, is what needs to change globally? That's I wouldn't worry. I think it's all in hand, basically. Okay.
So if you take like the climate situation. Like, obviously, it's not good, and it's destabilized. There's been we've been burning forests like crazy, and oil and fossil fuels, so it has changed the atmosphere, and it has changed the climate to a certain extent. So there will be probably global sea level rising, all that. I think all that's kind of unavoidable now, but I think it definitely will be stabilized, because the causes of the climate change are going to be removed, because the world is going to be electrified, because there's not going to be any burning of anything, basically. There's not going to be any smoke. It's a part of the evolution of the world, or the transition from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age. That the transition brings a lot of smoke. And sorry about my theories here. Everybody was smoking cigarettes, right? All the chimneys were pumping out smoke. It was all smoke. Where's the smoke now? Where's the chimneys? Where's the burning? There's still a bit of burning, but it will disappear. So there won't be smoke.
It's in India and China right now. I mean, that's where they're.
But look at China, man. They're really kind of. They're really transformed. I know they're building coal.
They're making greater
because the
transformation than we are here.
Much bigger, I would say. But India, oh God, it's terrible. If you go to Delhi, you should see some sort of, when there was the COVID, and
I remember that
kind of closed down. Delhi had clean, you could see the sky, but if you're in Delhi otherwise,
you could see the Himalayas.
Just about. So obviously it's a transition, and I think it's going to take 30 years before that everything's electrified, and then I think things are going to stabilize. So that's one thing, climate. The other thing, the other thing, I think, what was I going to say? I had another thing in my brain, but it went.
It happens to me all the time
until that comes back.
Do you see South Florida sinking, or is that too loaded a question?
I think it's a problem, right? These coastal cities are going to be, but look at Holland, right? I don't know, a third of it should be underwater, but they've got systems in place, which keep the sea at bay. And I think, people will have the time to develop these systems, I think, water, I think, is a concern more by water, but I think that, with the access of unlimited electricity, I think there's going to be a lot more desalination and stuff. So, not too bad.
So, I mean, we live in South Florida, so I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be underwater.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Well, America's a bit sort of slow to get this act together, aren't they? I don't know. Well, but I'm sure they will. Because they've got so many great people in America. I mean, it's full of fantastic people. That's why America is always going to survive. China's never going to overtake America, because America's got everybody in the world, all the best brains from all over the world, including millions of Russians and Chinese, and so they're always going to be inventing their way out of trouble.
Yeah, I just read the other day that there's 100,000 Chinese students in America right now.
Right.
College students.
That's good. And of course, some of them are sending secrets back to China.
Probably true.
But I think people might get over all that and just share in the end. Aquarian age and all that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But we make bombs and sell them to China, and they might just send them right back to us too.
Right. We don't want
but
that.
There's a profit motive involved, though. So what's it like on your island for you? I mean, do you have clients who live there? Are people interested in astrology?
Actually, I don't take clients here because it's like my private spot. It's so beautiful here, and there's a swimming pool, and I can just walk down to the sea and hop into the sea.
That's great.
So I have my clients in Copenhagen. I go there once a month.
Oh,
And
you
then
do?
I've got a whole bunch of clients, you know. I love having clients. I mean, that's just fantastic. That's what I love most, really, you know.
Do you
So
do,
I have
do you,
some on Zoom or Skype and some on
yeah, that's what I was
some
going to ask you, if you
face to
do
face.
Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of Zoom, and but the best ones are face to face because but I got better on Zoom, but face to face is like you know you can really read the micro
Yeah.
expressions and signals and you can sort of do some bit of magic, which you know horoscopes can do. You know,
Yeah, they
not just
can.
interpreting a horoscope, not just interpreting a horoscope,
Uh,
but using the energies in the horoscope to get people in contact with those energies,
mhm.
which can really empower them. It's fantastic, and that's like the best thing about astrology.
Mm. So
What? Okay, I have a question for you. Will it make any difference if Trump is found guilty in any of these cases before the election?
Yeah, well, it will make a difference for all the people who, yeah, as Nikki Haley said, you know, nobody's going to elect a criminal to be president. That's what Nikki Haley said, right? Good line. Um,
yeah.
That's a good line.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you know, that the margins are so small in these swing states in America that you
Mhm.
don't need much of a kind of a margin to
Yeah, that's
push.
true.
So yeah, the court case is going to, you know, even if he doesn't get convicted before the election, I think that's definitely going to put people off because they you know sensible people sorry are going to see things as they are, you know, with him, you know, and the people who do support him, you have to understand why, you know, because they hate people like I mean I'm not criticizing them, that they come that you know from a difficult situation. There's a drug epidemic, they've seen people dying, they're not getting work, they got a really low wage, they're not getting enough health coverage, and they see these people from the east and west coast doing great, and we're all kind of, you know, LGBT and we're all this and that, you know, it must drive them crazy. So Trump weaponizes that.
Yeah.
And I suppose he'll succeed in continuing to do that, yeah, right
But
until the election.
But he's got some copycats too, like our governor, DeSantis. He's done the same thing.
Yeah, right. He's dead in the water, though, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah, I think
he
he is.
As a
certainly is.
candidate, right? And he's got a
Yeah.
weak horoscope, you know. He's
Yeah, he does. I looked at his chart. I thought, yuck.
yeah. The only thing good, he's got this Mercury Saturn conjunction in Virgo, you know, which is a really great administrative. You know, it's a micromanaging aspect.
But it has
That's
no
it.
charm.
No, it's like dull. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got Venus in Scorpio, which is in exile, and Mars in Libra, you know, where it's weak and that kind of reception. No, it's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And you know,
Well,
compared to Nikki Haley, man, she's got like a superstar horoscope.
Yeah, I haven't looked at her
She's
chart.
no, it's just like it's like a bit like Margaret Thatcher, actually. But
Oh,
you
really?
know, yeah, she's a tough cookie, that's for sure. Nobody's ever going to get her down.
Huh. I'll have to look her up. Okay.
Yeah, she
yeah,
has this. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she puts on these debates, she puts this Vivek Ramaswamy in his place. He's a very fast talker, and but boy,
Right.
she can come
What
back
an idiot he is! Yeah, you know, he doesn't tell the truth either. You know, which is really unappealing. But she's actually, if you listen to what Haley says, it's like, if you like that kind of thing, it's brilliant. It's tough. It's kind of realistic. You know, she's realistic about abortion. She's realistic about Ukraine. You know, and yeah. So you know, she would be. If I was the Republican National, what do you call it, Congress, I'd kick out Trump and put her in, and then there might be a different kind of scenario.
Yeah.
What have you done this Vivek's chart or whatever his name is? What is
Actually,
his?
I don't think. What's his name?
I can't find his.
Yeah, something like that.
Ramaswamy.
No, I don't think I have done his chart.
I haven't either. I couldn't find the info.
No, and I don't know Nikki Haley's birth time either, but she has first of all, she has a Saturn Pluto trine, which is a really, really good. That's a harmonious aspect between two power planets. So it's what Margaret Thatcher had very dominant in her horoscope. But her sun is trine Pluto and Saturn, so it's a grand trine.
Wow.
It's a real power signature. And Pluto, she's got her sun on your moon, Trish. So
oh, really?
29 Capricorn. So Pluto's coming over her sun, which I think which puts her in the picture at the next election somehow.
Yeah, and she has to appeal to the social conservatives too in order to make headway. That's why she says stupid things like the Democrats are all for abortion right up to the time of birth. 9th month, there's nobody getting abortions when they're 9 months pregnant. If they would have got abortions, they would have done it long ago. I mean, that's just the factual. But they say it over and over again. Like this is a big issue.
It's quite a good argument, but obviously it's a specious argument because, as you say,
right.
People, if they had the right to have an abortion, they'd have one.
Yeah.
What are the laws in Denmark regarding abortion?
Well, I think it's just up to 3 months or something like that. And you could after 3 months, if you kind of make the case. But everybody can have an abortion up to 3 months, and I think in Britain it's about at least 3 months. I don't know. In Poland they just changed it, so it's illegal, I think. But in Germany it's normal. So I'm not sure exactly the period, but it's like a sensible period, I would say.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you what software you use for your astrology charts, but you have your own software, don't you? Haven't you created software?
Yeah, I've got 3 programs, but they're kind of interpretation programs, so I don't use them. Because I wrote the interpretation. I use Solar Fire, which is a bit ancient, I think, but it's okay. I know I've just got used to it. It's when you get used to something. And then I've got one for my Mac, but I only use it for making really nice graphs, which. And I also got an app on the phone, which I always use every day.
Is that what's the name of it?
I've got one here. Yeah, it's called Horoscope Interpreter. It kind of looks like this. And the great thing about that is that it's a clock, so apart from you can calculate horoscopes. So I'm always looking at, like what we got right now. I'm always looking at, the changes, as the ascendant changes and aspects are made, right? So the ascendant's just moved here in Denmark from Gemini, which is chatting, to Cancer, which is like dinner time, so you can, it's like I'm a fanatic.
What's the name of that?
It's called Horoscope Interpreter on the iPhone.
Horoscope Interpreter. Okay.
Trish has her software on her phone too, and we're out somewhere like at the dog park or something, and meet somebody, and she just asks them their signs, and do you happen to know when you were born and where? And suddenly she's blowing their mind, after meeting him 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Can't you visit Nikki Haley then and ask her her birth time?
Yeah, I should. I need to. Hey, Nikki, we need your birth time.
Exactly. Yeah, go for it. I mean, she's Sikh, her parents are Sikh. I'm not sure she's a practicing Sikh.
Oh, really?
So her parents are Sikh, right? It's really odd. Let's suppose she became president, long shot, and we got Rishi Sunak in Britain, who's also Hindu. India's taking over the world. We should teach England a lesson, right? We colonized India, but now they got their revenge.
Now I realize that's why she's going after Vivek so strongly too.
That makes sense.
Why does that make sense? Because why? Because it's funny in England too. Rishi Sunak's the prime minister. But there's another Indian woman who's a really tough cookie called Suella Braverman, and he just fired her, and she's like really criticizing him. So there seems to be a theme, doesn't there? of Indians fighting each other in America and Britain,
Hmm.
Indian politicians.
Yeah. Hmm. It's so fascinating how people in Europe and around the world know so much about what's going on in this country. I mean,
And we
you
don't know
talk like
anything.
you talk like you're right here, but you know so much more than we know what's going on in Copenhagen or
England
Yeah.
or
right.
Yeah, but I mean, it has to be said, my son, I'm a Cancer, and I have a son at 24 Cancer. That's exactly where America's Mercury is.
right.
And I have my Mercury at 13 Cancer, which is exactly where American Sun is. So it's like there's a kind of marriage, you know. So America's
Interesting.
like, my brain is like a little bit
Yeah.
American.
Have you been here?
Oh, many times, many times. I've
Ah,
done a lot of
okay.
talks, you know, at the UAC,
Okay.
which is the United Astrology Congress, and ISA, which is another Congress group.
Mhm.
So I think I've been there 20 times doing talks and that.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
That's that.
And
You used to
Florida, I
be
was in, where's the Disneyland in Florida?
Orlando.
Orlando.
Orlando. I was in Orlando, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where our daughter lives. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you meet Mickey Mouse?
No, but I did go to Cirque du Soleil, you know,
Uh-huh.
that circus in Orlando.
Right.
It's really wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really something.
Yeah.
But it was
That's where they.
hot, you know. It's very hot
Oh, it
in
is hot in the
Florida.
suburbs.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like humid, right? And there's alligators wandering around everywhere, eating people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That does
It's
have
true.
And
even
pythons
in
and
right by
stuff like
Disney
that.
World ate a little girl a couple
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah, and then pythons are kind of squashing
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have people
I'm
go out
sure.
and hunting them,
Yeah,
bringing
the
those
pythons.
pythons.
yeah.
Yeah, out in the Everglades, 18 feet long, and yeah, it's
So
Okay.
dangerous place, right? And with DeSantis on top of that.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's ban some more books. And
Right.
do you see there being another J6, January 6th?
Well,
Another attempt?
I think because of the, you know, we were talking about last time I said Trump wouldn't leave because he was represented by Mars and Mars was stationary. But the thing was, Mars was in Aries, square Pluto, and it went retrograde direct. So it meant it was kind of clashing with Pluto 3 times up to the inauguration. So that was like really, really a violent and really the conspiracy was on Trump's side, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's really dangerous, really dangerous. And in the coming one, funnily enough, Mars is opposite Pluto, and it goes retrograde again. So it makes 3 oppositions to Pluto. So that's a weird, and you know, and and because there's another thing too, because Trump, he has Uranus is coming over his midheaven.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is the career point, right? It's like one of the most sensitive points in the horoscope. And Uranus on the midheaven gives a kind of a change of status, but it's also a little bit revolutionary, you know. So if he's the candidate, I think he'll really make a mess. He'll really try and make a mess again, you know, of the election process. But I don't think there's going to be any actual doubt at the election. I think the result will come through much quicker than it did last time, because Mercury was stationary last time, square Saturn, so it took ages
a mess.
to count the votes. Yeah, it's not going to happen this time. So I think it'd be clear. But I think, you know, if Trump's a candidate, then yeah, there's going to be attempts, you know.
If something would happen with Biden and he was no longer the candidate and it became open, I think the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, would probably he's kind of waiting on the sidelines for an opportunity to jump in like that. Have you ever looked at his chart or anything about him?
I haven't. Has anybody?
I haven't either.
Trish?
No,
I haven't. Actually, you know, I'm a little, I don't know, you know, because obviously if Biden, you know, didn't make it to the election, then there would be some kind of, you know, I'm not even sure that Camilla, what's her name? Harris.
Kamala
Kamala
Harris.
Harris.
Kamala Harris, right.
Yeah, I'm not sure that she would actually get the Democratic nomination.
Yeah, I think it'd be open.
And then I really don't know what's going to happen. There's also the kind of, will there be an independent candidate like J.F. Kennedy or something, right?
Right.
So it's terribly unpredictable, actually,
Yeah.
But I suppose, 80% is going to be Trump versus Biden. And then I think it's like 80% going to be Biden that wins.
And also, just because we have this strange electoral process with the Electoral College, it gives more weight to the rural states than they deserve, and so Biden or whoever could win by 8-10 million votes, but with the Electoral College, it could be a matter of 10,000 votes, for difference. So it's not really a democratic process.
No, it's not.
And I'm not sure how the boundaries, all this gerrymandering and all that is going.
Yeah, right.
But it's a very, very close thing, isn't it? Yeah. So,
right.
But astrologically, it doesn't really matter that if you're an astrologer, you've got to look at the trends.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of see which candidates' sails are going to be filled, by the wind. There's just no easy way of doing it, There's always it's always some kind of little clue, and if you can spot the clue, when you spot it, it really sticks out. Like with Biden, it was really clear, and then with Obama, it was really clear, and actually with Trump, it was really clear, but confirmation bias. As an astrologer, you don't want to predict something you don't want to happen, because if you do, then you start wanting it to happen, so you'll be right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's unhealthy.
So another question that non-astrologers have about astrology, and I'll ask you this one, is: do you think the future is fixed?
Yeah. So we're going.
That's a good final question.
Final question.
It's a loaded question.
To spend about half an hour talking about. This is like, I think, how it is. You see, we think we have free will, and we're always going to think that. We're always going to think. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to act. So in the relative world, we've got free will relatively, but we don't have free will. And the reason we don't have free will, but it doesn't matter because you have to act like you do, right? But the reason you don't is that, every moment that arises, every nanosecond, every moment that arises because of what happened on the moment before. It is dependent on the moment before. It's dependent arising. There's no way you can actually interfere with that. Just one way you can, and that is like consciousness. Consciousness can, but if you were totally conscious, you'd probably just go with it, But at least, I think 100% conscious is 100% free will. But basically, humans like us. And me, I won't talk about how much you're conscious, but I'm about 3% conscious of what's going on around me. Like moment by moment. I'm just humans don't have any real. We're just operating according to our characters and our reactions. Basically most of the time. So so that's why astrology works. That's why you can predict what's happening to a certain extent, right?
All right. I think we're coming to the end of our hour. John,
this
do you
is
have
great.
anything to say? You there, John?
I'm here. No. I think y'all covered it. This is a little above my pay grade, so I'll let you guys sort it out. So
okay. That was predicted that you would say that.
Well,
we knew that.
Apparently, it was destined to occur. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well,
thank you,
tell
Adrian.
people. Tell people where they can find your books and read your articles.
Yeah, right. Basically, if you go to astrowow.com, that's astrowow, WOW, astrowow.com. Yeah, I mean, you can get lots of stuff. There are lots of free stuff, I mean.
Is that where you sell your software?
So my software
Okay.
reports, it's like you can make your own horoscope and online, and anybody else's, and actually see trends and everything free. And yeah, there's lots of stuff on that. And you can match, you can match people. I've made a match thing where, you put your birthday in, and with videos that kind of explain what you have to do to match better and stuff like that.